I was gonna ask this question in the Ask President Obama thing that they're doing on YouTube now, but it's way too long for their text box, which can only take about half a question. Basically, what I'm saying is the education system needs to be redone. When I started middle school, I had failed classes because the classwork became way too boring, so I was put in a remedial math class. The other students in that class, why were they even let into middle school? Why was I, if I was considered among them who did not know how to add? You shouldn't be allowed in high school if you can't add. Worse, I wasn't allowed to just take a test to get out of the class. I had to wait for it to finish. I almost never did well in school because half of it, probably more, was going back over things we'd already covered that I'd gotten the first time. High school has been one big repetition. I've barely learned anything new. The system pushes through students that aren't ready to go to the next level. Those who score highly on tests aren't allowed to move on quicker. I'm shoved in the same classes as everyone else. Like I said, I failed because it was boring, not because I didn't know what I was doing. I'd scored highly on tests. They should have been able to tell I knew what I was doing. I couldn't have been cheating because I was having the highest scores. They sat me in a corner. I sat myself in a corner. Meanwhile, half the other students could barely multiply and divide, but passed algebra with a B. I don't know how it is in other states, but the California high school exit exam looked like an entrance exam to me. The entrance exam looked like a middle school entrance exam. The SAT looked like a test that should have been for my sophomore year. And why can't I take my SAT scores and look, I know what I'm doing. Let me pass and go on to college. Why is it that if I get a D, a failing grade, that I cannot retake it? If I get an F, I can retake it. It's all good. But if I barely miss the mark, the system goes, oh, you're fine, we don't care anymore, and it's left up to me to take the extra steps and pay extra money to go to community college to retake classes I don't even need. And what about this idea? Let us take tests, even if they are long with a time limit, I don't care, to prove we know a subject area, and then let us move on. I can honestly say I have learned very little in high school. Algebra 2 was a repetition of Algebra 1. Geometry was a repetition of basic math. While we're on that subject, how does the education system select teachers? My geometry teacher was the most ignorant one in the classroom. He confused the other students constantly by making mistakes and then having to fix them. Several times he made a mistake and never noticed. I had to raise my hand and point out the errors to him. Teachers who can't teach aren't teachers. I had another teacher who, instead of teaching, played movies all the time for so-called classwork. It took the school the whole year to remove him. Why is this allowed to continue? Thank you for listening to this little rant. I'm pretty sure it won't get chosen, but hey, at least I tried. And you know what? It's the best any of us can do.